Bison football pregame show here for your 2015 spring football game. I'm your host, Beth Houle, joined by Brian Shawn, Lee Timmerman, and Alex Egan. And we want to welcome you back to the FARGODOME for another kickoff to an exciting year of Bison football. This green and gold game, really an opportunity for the guys to sum up spring practice, something that had a lot of competition going into it. Overall, though, just kind of sum it up and prepare for maybe a little bit of rest and recovery before we get back at it for fall practice.
All the guys I talked to on Wednesday all said it was more physical than they thought it would be, and Carson Wentz actually came out and said it's the most physical spring ball he's been through. And I think the big reason for that is because of the competition that you're seeing at a number of positions, in particular on defense. When you're replacing 3 linebackers, 2 safeties, and 2 starting defensive ends, most of those guys 3 or 4 year starters, you have some guys that have to come in and try to win some spots, and I think we've seen that this spring and hopefully build some depth.
And as we see Carson Wentz warming up there too on the offensive side, that's just the opposite of where we were here last year, talking about with all the returning people on the defensive side and all your experience on the defensive side. Well, Bison have that on offense this year, so that might be a little bit further along once they hit fall camp.
But they do have a question mark at running back. They are going to have to try and fill the void of John Crockett departing to graduation. But as with all spring practices, you want to come through healthy. You want to be ready to go into fall ball, and that's where they're trying to be as they get through this spring practice.
And you know, something that they've all talked about is that this team next year will be a team by committee. There's no one person that can replace your John Crockett's, your Kyle Emanuels, those kinds of players. It's going to be committee, and today we're going to get an opportunity to see a little bit of that committee. We're going to go ahead and take a break here. We've got plenty more action coming up, and we've got that ring ceremony to celebrate that 4th consecutive national championship. Stick with us on your Farmers Union Insurance Bison football pregame show. Go ahead and pick up the now with Dan Michaels now to lead us through this ring ceremony and celebrating that 2014 national championship. We'll go there now.
The NDSU football team captured the program's 4th straight Division I national championship with a 29-27 victory over Missouri Valley rival Illinois State. The victory capped a 15-1 season for the Herd and gave the program its 12th national championship and a historic Division I record, a 4th national title in a row. The season saw many highlights, including a 4th straight Missouri Valley football crown, a victory over Iowa State of the Big 12 in front of the national television audience, which gave the Herd its 5th win over an FBS program in as many years. A 5th consecutive Dakota Marker triumph over rival South Dakota State, another memorable playoff run at Gates A. Bank Field, and who could forget that September day when the nation once again turned its attention to North Dakota State as Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, and friends brought ESPN College Game Day to downtown Fargo for a 2nd straight year. We honor those accomplishments today and present the 2014 Bison with their national championship rings. Crafted by Johnston's, the ring features the Bison logo and 4 footballs on the ring face, representing each of the Division I national titles.
We recognize the Missouri Valley Football Conference Championship on one side and 14 national titles above an image of the FCS Championship Game logo on the other side. The inside of the ring band lists all 12 national championship seasons. Presenting the ring is our 2014 Teammaker President, Paul Bougie, First Vice President, Terry Ludlam, and Second Vice President, Chris Bakagard, Senior Associate Athletic Director and Teammaker Executive Director, Pat Simmers, NDSU Athletic Director, Matt Larson, and President of NDSU, Dean Brashani. Ladies and gentlemen, here today to say a few words is NDSU Athletic Director, Matt Larson, President Dean Brashani, and Head Coach, Chris Kleiman.
All right, well, Bison Nation, welcome, and thanks for coming out today. What a great opportunity for us to celebrate an unbelievable season, an historic season, but more importantly, an opportunity to celebrate this senior class and what this senior class has meant to Bison football. This class will undoubtedly go down in the history books as not only the winningest, but the most impressive group of young men that have ever played football in this program. And they'll always hold a special place for me. This is my first senior class. And again, it's not so much what they did on the field, it's the type of people, the leadership in the locker room. And so seniors, I want to thank you for your leadership, the culture and the tradition that you've upheld within this program for 4 years. So thank you guys so much. Underclassmen, the torch is officially passed to you guys now. This is your football team. It's you guys are now going to take that culture and bring it forward. So thank you guys for all your commitment, your hard work, and for buying in and being led by this senior group. But now it's your turn. And our coaching staff, last but not least, I couldn't be more proud to have Chris Kleiman and his staff lead this program. When you talk about the sacrifices and the things that they do on a daily basis to make this program into one of the best football programs in the country. So credit to those guys and for all their hard work. But we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you. You guys give us the best home field advantage in the country. So as we celebrate this championship today, it's as much about you as it is about us. So thank you for all that you do to support us and making this a championship program. So enjoy the game today and go Bison.
Gentlemen, NDSU President Dean Brashani.
Well, Matt just nailed it. My favorite story of the entire year last year was an Iowa State fan who tweeted, "I'm sick of being surrounded by Bison who think it's a home game." You are looking at a program and players and coaches who did something that has never been done in NCAA Division Football I history ever. That's an incredible accomplishment, but it's an accomplishment you own as well. We take more people to the national championship game in Frisco than the BCS teams do to the Cotton Bowl right next door. We have a program and a fan base that is second to none. And don't think these guys that are inheriting this program take lightly what's in front of them. For 3 years now, people have told our players it can't be done again, and they've done it again. These guys are going to be in it for the real deal again, and I know you'll be there with them. Go Bison!
President of North Dakota State, Dean Brashani, and now, ladies and gentlemen, the head coach of the national champions, Chris Kleiman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming out today. 2014 seniors, please step out. 2014 seniors, please step out. 58-3, 4 national championships. (6-0) against the Jackrabbits. And everybody, we could not have done it without you. We could have not done it without Bison Nation. So as coaches and players, we'd like to applaud you. Bison Nation, stand up. Thank you so much for your support all year long, all through what we call the process. We talk about process, culture, and family within our program. And you guys are all a part of that process. You're a part of that culture, and you're a part of that Bison family. And I know this, our guys are going to remain humble, our guys are going to remain hungry, but we're excited to have you guys see a glimpse of the 2015 Bison football team, and we know that we're going to take this group on the road to Missoula, Montana. Go Bison.
We'll be back after this break.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for head coach Chris Kleiman and all our assistant coaches.
Welcome back to your Farmers Union Insurance Bison football pregame show. We take you now to this 2014 National Championship ring ceremony.
Lee Thornton. Number 9, Dallas Freeman. Number 11, Carson Wentz. Number 12, Easton Stick. Number 13, Eric Perkins. Number 14, Bo Likas. Number 15, Daniel Polanski. Number 16, R.J. Urzendowski. Number 17, Adam Keller. Number 18, Cole Davis. Number 19, Ben LeCompte. Number 20, Darius Shepard. Number 20, Colton Hegel. '21, Ian Gallagher. 22, King Frazier. 23, John Crockett. 24, Trey Dempsey. 25, Chase Morlock. 26, Keenan Hoddenfield. 27, Isaac Senazar. 28, Andrew Smith. 29, Eric Bachmeyer. 30, Jedry Sear. 31, Tom Barneson. 32, Dakota Reed. 33, Lance Dunn. Number 35, Christian Dudzik. 36, Jalen Allison. 37, Benny Wilson. Number 38, Carlton Littlejohn. 39, Nate Jensen. Number 40, Dan Sargent. 41, MJ Stumpf. 42, Scott Mullick. 43, Kurt Maddox. 44, Matt Plank. 45, Levi Jordheim. Number 46, Andrew Bonnet. 47, Pierre G. Tucker. 48, Dan Marlette. Number 49, Nick DeLuca. 50, Peter Olson. 51, James Fisher. Number 52, Travis Beck. Number 53, Kyle Emanuel. '54, Jeremy Kelly. 56, Caleb Butler. Number 59, Joe Haig. Number 60, Max
Some pretty fancy
Olsen.
hardware you see the guys here collecting at your 2015 spring game here at the FARGODOME. We'll be back after this break with a little bit more in your Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show. Welcome back to your Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show. The ring ceremony wrapping up here behind me as we get ready to go underway in this 2014 Green and Gold Spring Football game. A big point of emphasis in this game is some of the injuries that the team has collected throughout spring ball. I'm joined by Sanford doctor, Dr. Noonan. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to take a look into this Sanford Orthopedic and Sports Medicine injury report on how important the recovery that the guys got and are currently getting coming off of such a long football season like we had this past year.
Sure, thanks for having me. You know, as you mentioned, recovery is a huge component of a sport such as football. There's a lot of injuries of overuse and attritional, and then unfortunately some of the athletes suffer injuries that need to have surgical fixation for. So all of those have a certain timeline for getting back, and if you really try to push those too much, they can turn from injuries that would take 1 to 3 weeks to months to a whole season of a lingering effect. And especially with our surgical interventions, we have set timelines and guidelines for getting players back. So it really is crucial to move along those.
We've been through this a few times now. We've seen the lengthy season. We've seen the national championship push and playing into January. Do you find that the guys and the athletes tend to be a little bit more understanding of the rest and recovery that's expected of them in this off-season push now after they've seen the benefits maybe some of the older guys ahead of them have seen?
Sure. I mean, sometimes it's hard to get it across to them, but we have the benefit of a great athletic training staff here who is always reinforcing that, and they can just see the successes we've had with how they've done things here. So it makes it a lot easier to get a buy-in when you have that kind of success.
They've collected a few injuries throughout this spring season. One that we saw was a broken hand. For somebody like an offensive lineman, how difficult is it to come back from a broken hand and just to be able to trust that weight you're going to be putting back on?
Well, that's one thing, and the other thing is whether they're supposed to or not, use their hands a lot, and it's difficult if you have them in a cast or immobilized, especially if there's any surgical intervention to be done. So it can be a difficult injury, but it's often an injury they play with, but maybe not at their peak level.
And then another injury that we've seen a lot throughout the spring season has been some of those knee injuries, those nicks and those knacks and that sort of thing. How important is it for these guys to be able to rest those and to take care of them now for the longevity of the season to come?
It's super important. So as I was mentioning, some of these things can just be small nagging injuries now, but if they're never allowed to recover, they're there for the whole season and they can get worse, where if you just take care of them and get them fixed and back at 100%, they're much happier throughout the season.
I think that's probably good advice for anybody with any injury as well. Well, thank you so much for joining us for the Sanford Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Injury Report. We'll be back after this with a little bit more in your pregame show. Insurance Bison Football pregame show. I'm your host, Beth Hool. I'm joined now by NDSU Athletic Director Matt Larson, about ready to drop that first year Bison Athletic Director title. Congratulations on a successful first year. Teams are doing as well as ever. As you kind of look at this, how you feeling as you're about to ready to wrap up this first year?
You know, it really has been a great 7 months, 8 months into it right now, and I was joking with you off the camera about some days it feels like 7 days, some days it feels like I've been here for 7 years, but so many of the things that I wanted to accomplish in the first 7 months we've been able to do, and you know, from getting out and really, you know, creating relationships in the community, getting really up and running with our staff, and you know, a lot of the things that have been happening on the field really help us do what we need to do in terms of moving the program forward. So couldn't have asked for anything better really in the first 7 months.
You were really, really vocal in that ring ceremony about thanking the fans and thanking Bison Nation. You, Dean Brashani, Chris Kleiman, every single one of you wanted to give a shout out to those fans. How important has that support been in the progress of these athletic programs?
You know, our fan base and our support is what I think is what makes us different, what makes us unique from any other program in the country. And, you know, for years, they've been the ones who've been able, whether it's coming to a game, whether it's buying season tickets, whether it's donating, be a part of Team Makers, supporting some of our capital projects. That's why who we are who we are. And a lot of the success really goes to our fan base and what they've been able to do and the way they support us. So can't thank them enough for, you know, what they've done to date and what they're going to, I know they'll do, you know, moving forward here. So they're such a huge part of what we do.
Well, we know that we have a statewide audience watching this, getting ready to enjoy this 2014 Green and Gold game. We're going to take a break real quick. We'll be back with that game here after your Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show.
Welcome back to the FARGODOME for the NDSU Green and Gold scrimmage. Brian Shaw and Lee Timmerman with you for this telecast of the final practice for the spring ball of 2015 North Dakota State football. And just over 4 months from now, the Bison will open the season, hard to believe, already at Montana. It really is coming up.
It's going to come up real fast. I know when I talked to the coaches, I said I'm kind of having a little bit of Bison withdrawal, so I'm kind of glad that we're putting this on television today, this weekend, to get a chance to talk a little Bison football with the guys. It's kind of fun again.
And when we take a look at the NDSU spring game scoring system, it's offense and defense. So when we look at some of those things, you got to keep track of points in kind of a different way, and we'll do our best to do that here throughout the day today. But your scoring system looks like this. Each team 2 timeouts per half, no replays, no kickoffs. Spot the ball on the 25-yard line. We found out today it's actually going to be the 35-yard line. There are punts, but no return. Again, no time, 30 plays. They're not running a clock. How the scoring system works: 6 for a touchdown, 1 for an extra point, 2 for a conversion for offense. That makes
pretty
sense.
standard stuff on the offensive side, but it's when you look at the defensive side where things get to be a little bit different. So how is your defense going to score points? Well, you do it obviously by scoring a touchdown or an interception, or you recover a fumble. Some of those big type of plays, you get points for that. A 4th down stop, that's a 3-point play. Safety, sack, 2 apiece, and then tackle for a loss. I'm sure the defense wishes they had Kyle Emanuel back for this tackle for a loss thing with the points. And then, 3 and out for the defense, you get 2 points. And so that's kind of how it goes. It's obviously not a game as we would traditionally call it a game. It's an offense versus defense scrimmage. And the green gold here. And before we get too much into the game, Brian, I just think it's really neat to see the seniors from last year get their ring in front of the fans. That was pretty neat. The Esley Thorntons and the Carlton Littlejohns and, Hegel and Crockett and all those guys, so much in what they've meant to this program.
Well, and I think what's cool about it too, LT, is those guys have all come back for this game. I mean, Kyle Emanuel and John Crockett, certainly 2 NFL draft hopefuls coming up, and that starts Thursday night. And yet they're coming back here to spend this with their old teammates and celebrate that 2014 championship, get their rings before they'll move on with their life. Of course, Colton Hegel's still living here in Fargo, now working for Gate City Bank.
I mean, Emmanuel was just in Pittsburgh a couple of days ago, interviewing with some of the Steeler brass and the head coach there. So he came back to make sure it was going to happen and be a part of it as it will, because there's you see Dudzik sitting next to Hegel and it's just, they've meant so much. You got to remember that senior class was the class right behind the 3 and 8 year. And they basically stuck together, and look at what they accomplished.
Saw Travis Beck sitting there as well, as he's still recovering from that injury in the playoffs that we saw. That certainly changed the complexion of North Dakota State defensively. They were able to overcome that and still win a national championship. Carson Wentz starting behind center. Boy, what a season this young man had. 25 touchdown passes, 10 interceptions. And this pass broken up. We get a first look there at one of the new linebackers hoping to make a splash, and that is a Harvey Hornet from just down the road here in North Dakota. That is MJ Stumpf.
Boy, Coach Anson, anyone you talk with just are praising what he has done. Already they're talking about MJ's ability to lead. And you go, well, he hasn't played much. How has he become a leader? Well, he needs to be a leader just because of some of the inexperience, but he has come a long way in a short amount of time, and his leadership and execution has been very, very good this year.
We're starting off here with Nick DeLuca playing on the outside, and Matt Plank, another young man trying to make a splash here. As just a sophomore starting in the middle as R.J. Urzendowski makes the catch, and that guy didn't do much last year in the postseason, did he?
Well, that's why it's so hard to predict when you talk to coaches and they don't want to say much about who from your incoming freshman class do you think will contribute. They don't want to tell you too many names, because at this time last year, who would have thought that R.J. Urzendowski was able to do and accomplish what he did? The plan was to redshirt that kid. Well, he earned his spot on the field and then helped earn a national championship.
And LT, you had mentioned with Urzendowski, he didn't drop a pass until his, 18th practice?
Exactly.
Wentz across the middle to Bonnet. Chris Board there on the coverage. Young man that played mostly on special teams last year, now expected to step in for safety with the graduation of Hegel and Dudzik. But boy, when you look at a guy like Bonnet, coach is praising what he has done throughout the spring.
And he's going to move around probably more next fall than he did last year. He's in the slot right now. And in Bonnet, we've seen him play fullback. We've seen him play tight end. Now we're seeing him in a slot. He has done a fantastic job.
Wentz airing one out, looking deep, and it is caught. What a great catch by Jeff Ilias, the Wyomere product. Has really stepped up a little bit in the spring here, put on about 15 pounds, LT, and they really like his versatility, and we see how he can go up and get the football downfield.
Well, we knew he could get downfield. He has the wheels. We know he can catch it, but it's still the blocking aspect. And Coach Polisic said, yeah, he's better, but he's still light. You talked about the 15 pounds he has. Coach Kramer has a thing or two for Ilias to work on all summer long.
To the ground to Chase Morlock. And Chase stacked up. Nice job defensively there by the green. Nick DeLuca leading the charge along with MJ Stumpf. And Morlock, a guy that the coaches are raving about as well in terms of his versatility. They could line him up virtually anywhere.
Remember last year when Crockett started to go out in the wide position, and then they were throwing passes to him? Look for Chase Morlock to do some of those things next year for the Bison. He's going to be tailback. We just carried the ball. He's going to be in the fullback position. He could be in that H-back. They might put him in the slot, and they might always, just like the Bison did with Crockett, put him way out wide, so Chase is going to be all over the place next year.
Stretch play there to Morlock, and again taking him down. And once again, it's DeLuca getting there first, tripping him up.
We'll see some other guys play linebacker, a lot of them actually today. And so many things of what these linebackers position types do are what DeLuca did. Think of the special teams impact that Nick has had the last couple of years before coming in and being now a starter and a leader, the guy calling the defenses. But there's a lot of guys behind him that will have to do and take the same path that DeLuca did. But he'll tackle a house for you, though, won't he?
Oh, boy, he made some plays also, and the interception was really good in pass coverage as Morlock is in for a touchdown as he powers over to DeLuca for the score.
So the Gold will get 6 there, but you have to remember that long pass play. So the Gold actually got 2 on the long pass play. So the offense right now is leading the defense 8-0 before the special team. And you know, from an offensive standpoint, when you get that close, first down inside the 5, they want to score.
They want to punch it in. And Morlock, a guy that's expected to get more carries here, as Ben LeCompte is on for the field goal duties, and that is still up in the air whether it's going to be him or Tom Barneson, both battling it out. That will continue into the fall. We'll take a quick time out and be back with more of the annual Green and Gold Spring Scrimmage from here at the FARGODOME.
All right.
NDSU here at the FARGODOME.
All right, well, welcome back to your 2015 Green and Gold game. I'm joined here on the sideline by John Crockett, no longer in uniform. This is kind of weird to see. We saw in the ring ceremony that you ran in a little bit late. You've maybe been a little bit busy as of late?
Well, yeah, I've been a little bit busy. Might as well keep it consistent, you know. So it's definitely a blessing and great to be out here with these guys and see what they got and get that ring.
How much have you been able to keep in touch with the team and maybe the old backs crew? Just given all of the work that you've been doing, how much have you been able to keep in touch with them, and what are you seeing from them?
Well, it's you know, I've been able to communicate with them throughout, you know, the remainder of the months and stuff like that. But the thing about it is, it's so my schedule is so, you know, all over the place right now. So, but they know that I'm letting them do their thing and letting them, you know, create their own legacy in their own way. So, but if they know if they need me, if they need to talk to me about anything, they can call me.
There's 2,500 yards that the Bison have to get from their backs that they're losing by losing you this year. They say they're going to have to do it by committee. What do you see from Chase? What do you see from King? What do you see from those guys that gives you confidence that they'll be able to work together and pull that through?
Well, at the end of the day, you know, if you paid attention last year, they contributed with, you know, when they played, you know, they both came in, they made great plays. And the thing about it is, you know, they're both hungry for success. And that's the biggest thing, you know. Hopefully I taught them a little bit, but, you know, so but, you know, just, you know, on a serious note, you know, they're both talented players and they're going to be great for the Bison, especially them two together. I'm great to see what they do.
Well, you certainly have been busy. We've seen it on our channel, on ESPN. We've seen it everywhere. Talk a little bit about where you're at right now. We're less than a week till draft day. I mean, are you nervous? What's going on? What's going on in here? What's up here?
Yeah, you know, John's a little nervous, but Taz is just ready to go. So, but you know, but it's definitely you're definitely in that position where you just don't know what's going on. You just, you know, it's like I don't have no control, and that's the thing that scares me the most. But I've done everything I could do. Now it's just time to wait and see what happens.
How prepared were you for the combine, the Shrine game, the draft, everything you've been through? Did you feel as prepared as you could be?
Yeah, I definitely felt like I was close to, but you know, if you think about it, you know, I only had 2 weeks to prepare for the combine because I had the East-West game. So I only had a couple weeks to prepare for that. So, but at the end of the day, it's just, you know, coming and producing and doing what you've been doing your whole career. Just when the lights come on, you'll be ready to shine.
Where are you going to be for that draft day?
I'll be at home in Minneapolis.
You touch the support we got to see on draft on the draft show. Your mom's support and how excited she is for you. How important is it to be with your family in a situation like this?
It's definitely important because those are some of the people that when you were falling, you know, they were able to catch you and put you back on your right path. And that's the biggest thing that I feel like I need to spend that time with my family and just, you know, it's been about 5 years since I've been really truly back in Minneapolis, been home, but you know, this is still my home. That's my home, so it's, you know, it's good to be there.
Well, thank you for accepting all of us as your family. You've been a joy to watch, a pleasure to have with us on these statewide broadcasts for the last several years. We wish you the best of luck. Answer my phone call on draft day. That's for sure. That 630 area code. All right, buddy. All right. Thanks so much for now. John Crockett down here on the sideline with me.
Beth, thank you very much. And always a joy to see John. Wish him the best of luck coming up, whether that is as a draftee or as a free agent or wherever the case may be. Running back certainly not valued as highly as they used to be, LT.
No, they don't.
Ooh.
And a sack still is, though. There's a defensive point, the second point for the defensive side coming up.
And Dan Marlette, the redshirt freshman out of Sioux Falls, hearing very good things about him. And Chris Kleiman, talking to me this week, said he's about where he hoped he would be at this point.
But Marlette's one of those guys, when we were talking about DeLuca a little bit earlier, about how he made his impact on special teams and then worked his way when it's his time to play. That's the guy right there. You're going to see number 48 all over the field on special teams. He will be a big part of what is a big part of every game, that kind of that third wheel in football, the special teams.
We saw Aaron Steidel as well, another redshirt freshman from Alexandria, come in and make a nice play defensively.
Yeah, Steidel walked on. I mean, you know, he came here with the program, walked on, and he's going to earn some minutes.
And Easton Stick will throw this one into row 2, and that is our first real look at Easton Stick, another redshirt freshman from Omaha, very highly touted coming out of Creighton Prep.
I thought Stick's downfield ball was a pretty good ball. I mean, that was almost completed. That one, you know, a coach will pat you on the back and say, even though that was an incompletion unless the guy caught it in the first row. But sometimes the passes you don't force are the good ones. And so every once in a while, even though it was thrown out of bounds, way out of bounds on purpose, that could be the right move. And when you get into film sessions and things like that, coaches will say, good call, let's live to play another day, not force it in there.
And again, we will have punts, but we just will not have returns. So Tyler Rice is just back there to just haul it in and say thank you. And Rice, a guy that played sparingly last year as a freshman, hoping he can take a step forward as well as they continue to evolve and look for the next Ryan Smith.
That's been an elusive target, too.
Another nice high punt. Boy, Ben LeCompte does this about as well as anybody as Tyler Rice hauls it into the 7-yard line. And we will take a quick timeout and be back with more of the NDSU Green and Gold scrimmage. You're watching NBC North Dakota Sports. Back at the FARGODOME for the NDSU Green and Gold game. Wrapping up the final of 15 practices here this afternoon before reporting for fall camp in just over 4 months. King Frazier pounding ahead for a yard, and Frazier was really the closer, LT, and you look back at even the semifinal game against Sam Houston State, he was the guy that broke the long run that really seemed to break the back of the Bearcats in that game.
But, you know, Coach Kleiman and Beth will talk to him in a little bit, but talked a lot about how some of the things that, you know, will be done in trying to replace Crockett will be by committee. So Dunn will be in there, Frazier will be in there, Morlock will be in there.
Cole Davis also taking his first snaps, and there's the first catch of the day. A nice elusiveness there by Darius Shepard, another redshirt freshman from Blue Springs, Missouri.
He's one of those kids that they're hoping will get some time in the slot and has the speed to maybe run some of that jet sweep type of plays.
And Beth Hool is going to try to catch a word here with Chris Kleiman in just a moment, and Chris just walked away as he's still trying to do some coaching. And here's Chris with Beth.
He's busy coaching. You got to pull him off the sideline here. Coach, we're talking about just the conversation we've had with you all spring practice about having to respond by committee for this sort of thing. Just talk a little about the running back crew and how they're developing. You said 2,500 yards they have to pick up with John gone.
Yeah, that's an awful lot of yards, but I think we've got some capable guys. It's just going to come in different chunks. You know, one game it may be Chase, one game it may be King, one game it may be Lance, but there's going to be that game where you're going to maybe have all three of those guys at that 60, 70-yard mark. And you're right, 2,500 is a lot of yards, but if we can, you know, our goal is to get close to 200 yards rushing, and however that works out, and every game's going to be different just based on the game plan that Tim draws up.
Somebody that I enjoyed talking to you about this past week was Jeff Ilias, and just his development in that tight end, in that position. How are you expecting him to develop, and how are you expecting that whole unit to develop?
Well, this summer is really big for Jeff because I think he now is about close to 220 pounds. When he came in here, he was maybe 205, and if he's 225, somewhere in there, we can play him as a conventional tight end, or do what we did in the first drive and flex him out as a wide receiver because he's got great leaping ability. He can go get the football. So that tight end position always has been and always will be a critical thing at NDSU.
I know that you guys have certainly been flexing it more and more. Talk a little bit about Carson and how we're expecting him to grow this year. I mean, he knows the playbook. He knows what we're going to...
I'm smart now. That's one of the reasons I have my hip replaced already. I get out of the way now.
Yeah, I just put you in front of me. How about that? But Coach, talk about Carson and how he's developing this year, where he goes from here, because he's already proven he can handle the playbook. What do you expect from him in this next year?
Well, it's still the playbook. It's the system, and feeling comfortable with the system, as well as this summer feeling comfortable with all these young wide receivers and young tight ends that are going to be, you know, significant contributors for us. So this is a big summer for Carson, but he's excited about the challenge.
And we're developing that second tier of quarterback as well. You've got a quarterback competition going on back there. Just what have you seen from those guys, and what can we expect as fall camp progresses with those two?
Well, great competition, and I'm going to tell both of them when I visit with them next week, we need you to be able to win the first game against Montana. For whatever reason, Carson got nicked up or couldn't play or something. They need to be able to win, and last year we weren't in that position. I think this year we're closer, and I think we could get there because I really have liked the progress that both Cole and Easton have made, and that competition is going to continue to go through fall camp. They've both pushed each other really well.
You said that spring camp was going to be more aggressive. It was going to be more intense. We've certainly seen that. We've got a couple of nicks and bruises now that we've been able to talk about. Your offensive line a little bit beat up. But what are we going to see out here? Tell us what we're going to see the rest of this spring game. What can we expect, and who are you most excited to see out here?
Really just the young guys, and I would say especially the young offensive linemen. Our program has been built on great offensive lines, and so you're going to see all these young freshmen that maybe not going to be starters for us, but they're going to be key contributors as the season goes along, and they're the future really of Bison football, especially in that offensive line.
Well, we're down here in the red zone, so we'll let Coach take a look, and we'll send it back up to you guys. Thanks so much for joining us.
Beth.
Hey, thanks very much, Beth. And boy, what a great catch by R.J. Urzendowski. And a couple of Nebraska products going at it there. Jalen Allison really in tight coverage. Another redshirt freshman from Papillion, Nebraska.
Nothing that Urzendowski does in terms of catching the ball should surprise anyone anymore. But you're right, Allison is a kid on the outside that Coach Entz and the defensive backs coach are very excited about. Corners are one of those positions where you simply can't have enough of them. And with C.J. Smith not playing today, he just had a little bit of a deal with the knee earlier this week, so you're going to need that depth. And again, that goes back to some of that special team stuff. A lot of those defensive backs are the types of guys that you rely on in special teams.
On the left there, number 3, Jalen Winbush. Another guy competing at safety as NDSU has gone back to the state of Florida. And he's another one of those Florida products they brought in here to try to add some skill and speed at the back end of that secondary.
Well, it's hard, too, to pay much attention to the center, but one of the biggest, if not the biggest transformation is the center this spring. That's Austin Kunert. As Davis slips down there. But number 75, Kunert, he's never played center before in his life. He's never snapped the ball before in his life. Of course, we saw him play and do very well in that guard position last year, taking over for Johnson and that type of thing. But he is being asked to do something that's very difficult. And Austin, I think, will be the first to tell you. He's had some good days this spring, and he's had some bad days this spring, but it's a tough thing that he's trying to do.
And Zach Johnson came back, participated a little bit in spring ball, and then had to have surgery on his meniscus, so he's missed a majority of the spring. They've had some other offensive linemen. Poor Jack Plankers, he's broken a foot and a hand. He's trying to recover from. He was wheeling himself around here in a little cart earlier today.
And Landon Leckler's playing a little today, and they didn't know if he would.
And this pass to Kayvon Hawkins, and good coverage there by Dakota Reed, yet another redshirt freshman defensive back out of Chicago.
Well, to give you a little bit of an idea of how the spring has gone for the offensive line, the same group has never practiced together all spring. And again, we're not trying, in the spring to get everything and the whole team up to speed. But that just gives you an indication. Part of that is Joe Haig and some of the classes that Haig is playing. He's missed some practices because of some school work, not because of injury, but some of the other stuff is because of injury.
Haig and some engineering courses that are only offered at certain times of the day, and the Bison practicing more in the morning this year for spring practices to try to accommodate people's schedules. And Kayvon Hawkins makes the catch, and he is in for the touchdown. And that's a young man that Tim Polasek is hoping can give them another threat on the outside down the field to go along with Zach Frost.
Well, they threw the lob to the outside to Hawkins, and some of this kind of helped set up by the play before. Little delayed drag, gets right inside Champion, and then gets to the line. But, yeah, Hawkins has been dealing a little bit, too, with a AC separation in his shoulder. But one of the things I like the way Coach Polasek talked about, well, him and Shepard, that, until they make big plays for us in the fall, right now they're just guys with potential. Well, we've seen some of that potential. The potential just got you 6 more points.
Barneson comes on and adds the extra point, and it is now 21-4 in favor of the Gold. We'll take one more timeout and be back with more first half action of the NDSU Green and Gold game here at the Fargo Dome. A look at Jalen Allison, one of those defensive backs Chris Kleiman hoping will step in as the final drive of the first half taking place, and this pass caught again by Ilias. Nice move around one defender. How about Jeff Ilias? A couple of big catches in the first half, hauling this one in from Easton Stick.
Well, Stick on the rollout, and the thing that most people will talk when they talk about the quarterback Easton Stick is how great his feet are. I mean, this guy can get downfield in a hurry, so you're probably not going to catch him on a roll. Wasn't the most beautiful pass in the world, but he had a lot of time to get there, and Ilias was wide open too, so even though it was on his inside shoulder, the shoulder that he was not trying to hit, he just had so much space and enough time to catch it. But Stick is almost like having another running back there.
He really is. Darius Anderson getting the carry here, and Anderson practicing more now as a running back after last year shifting more to wide receiver. So again, another guy that may line up in various positions coming up in the fall.
Well, that's one of the things when you talk with Coach Polasek, he's got tons of options. In fact, one of the ways he put it is we will be less conventional than we have in the past, and he feels really good about that simply because they have so many options in terms of the numbers of you know, tailbacks and especially tight ends you can do things with, or in Anderson's case, a guy at a running back or the slot position.
At the bottom of the screen there, for a moment you saw Shadeed Crockett lined up as Lance Dunn takes the carry, and there's the home run speed that Tim Polasek has been talking about, and he takes it in for a 33-yard touchdown run.
Even when I was asking Coach Entz, the defensive coordinator, give me a player or two on the offensive side this spring that has jumped out at you, he said Dunn, number 33. And even Coach Hedberg, the quarterback's coach, just talked about his down-the-field ability. And once he gets in the open, he can make someone miss, and he can finish a long, long run.
And Dunn, again, just a redshirt freshman from Waterloo, the same hometown as both Chris Kleiman and Matt Entz, the defensive coordinator for the Bison. And again, going into Waterloo and winning a recruiting battle for young men like that over Northern Iowa is big, and Iowa's continue to be a very good state here for the Bison. Extra point is added, and that is the first half of the NDSU Green and Gold scrimmage here at the Fargo Dome. We'll take a quick timeout and be back with the Proceed halftime report coming up after this. It's 30-4. Your halftime.
Just give us an update. How are things looking?
Well, we're 17 months away, and we're counting every day down, and everything looks great. I think as someone who grew up in that facility as a kid, it's going to be a huge upgrade. And the biggest thing I think they'll notice is it's a renovation, but it's a huge addition as well. So it's going to be a great home for all of our student athletes.
What are we most excited about? What can you really get amped up about? What is going to make people go, wow, when they walk in?
When you walk into the arena, the Shields Center within the Sanford Health Athletic Complex, that Shields Center will be a jaw dropper for people to walk in, not only with the seating, with the views that you'll have, and also the amenities. We'll have all the different things around the concourses. It's going to be a huge change.
As important as the talent is, as important as the production from the athletes is, how important are facilities? As you've gone out and you've looked and you've seen the growth of college athletics, how important is it for NDSU to be taking this step?
Well, I think before the facilities were, people attended NDSU or decided when recruits came in to come in spite of the facilities, and now they'll come in because of the facilities. With the new basketball practice facility, wrestling gets an upgrade, the new student academic center, the new strength training. It's just going to be a whole complex that we can really market to our student athletes.
How is the progress coming? We're taking a look at some of the construction going on. How is progress coming on that?
We're right on track. It's supposed to open in October of 16, and everything's right now, barring anything happening, it's right on a go. We hope to get people in there earlier to be able to pick out their seats. So as soon as we can get them in there, they can come in and pick out where their new seats will be in the Shields Center, and I think that'll be very exciting as well.
Now, hold on. Tell me a little bit about this. You're going to get to pick out your seat?
Well, when you have season ticket holders, you get to go in and, see where you want to be in there and see what that is. It's all priority points like in the Dome, and they'll get in there and get the best views, and they'll get to figure out where they want to sit in that new Shields Center.
Well, it sounds like an exciting time. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us a little bit about the new Shack facility. We're excited to get in there. We're excited to get some basketball in there, hopefully, too, statewide on NBC. We're looking forward to plenty more action coming up here on your Proceed halftime report. Well, welcome back to your Proceed Halftime Report. I'm your host, Beth Hool. I'm hosted now by a couple of basketball stars. We've got Dexter Werner and Holly Johnson, two North Dakota kids as well. Welcome to the show. I want to thank you guys both for joining us. Dexter, we're going to start with you. You ended men's basketball this season on quite the tirade, having a huge game out in Seattle against Gonzaga. We're already a fan favorite. You sealed the deal there. Coming off of that, how have you guys come down from that? How have you guys been getting back to work?
You know, I think it was just nice to take a couple weeks off. Kind of just get the whole team unwound, and then 2 weeks, and then we've been back at it for 3 weeks already. So now we're just using that big game like that to just use it as some motivation for next year, and just keep motivating us to get better in the off season this summer.
How have those workouts been going as the team looks to produce a whole lot more shooting? You guys have a lot of points to replace with Lawrence Alexander graduating.
Yeah, with LA gone, those are some big shoes to fill, and it's not going to be one person. It's going to be a few guys stepping up to fill that gap. So I think it bumps up the competitiveness, because we know that there's going to be a lot of points to be filled, and it's just going to make for some good workouts with everybody competing so hard.
You're a kid from Bismarck, North Dakota. We hear from Bismarck all the time. Plenty of fans out there watching right now in Bismarck. You've got a lot of support. Do you feel that when you're on the games, when you're on the road, when you're out in Seattle?
Oh, it's just fun being out there no matter what. If you're from North Dakota or Seattle or Chicago, it doesn't matter. And I think it's just us as a group just having the backing of the community. It's been huge this year, and all the fans are great all year, so it was a blast.
And Holly, you're from Minot, North Dakota as well, even further from us here in Fargo, but also tuning in statewide today, watching this green and gold game. What can you say just about the support of the state of North Dakota for the women's basketball program this year as you guys transitioned with a new head coach?
I think that at the beginning we were all a little shaky on what was going to happen, but we had really great support from the Fargo community, and the whole state of North Dakota is awesome.
You guys have a new coach in Maren Walseth. What did she bring to the team this year? You guys seemed to really love playing basketball again. You guys really seemed to be enjoying yourselves out there.
I thought the main thing she brought was intensity and competitiveness. I think it's tough to bring that every day on your own, and when you have someone pushing yourself every day, and not only yourself but your teammates, your coaches, everyone together, it's fun.
You guys certainly had dedication within yourselves to come back after a tough year, the year previous, and to continue grinding out. Where can we expect this program to be next year? Where can we expect you guys to take this?
I think we're going to just keep taking steps forward. It's not all going to happen in 1 year, in 2 years. It's a process, and I think that if we stay true to it, we'll have good things come out of it.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck to both of you guys. Enjoy these spring workouts and hard at work this summer, I'm sure. We'll continue to keep you covered throughout the basketball seasons. For now, on your Proceed Halftime Report, I'm your host, Beth Wool. We'll be back with a little bit more. Welcome back to your Proceed Halftime Report. I'm here by Proceed, joined now by Proceed Zone Keith Pelletier. Thank you so much for joining us. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about how this spring season has been going.
Well, it's been going great. The ag season is kind of like the football season. The spring is the start, just like it is the start for us. So the spring is always exciting. It's fun to get going.
Now, you mentioned to me you wanted to talk a little bit about the corn planting season, and you said it's not time yet. We got to hold off a little bit.
That's right. We've spent most of our time, or our guys have spent most of their time, trying to get guys not to plant corn. Everybody wants to get going, get to the starting line and get going, but it's too cold out. The soil temps are only like 40 degrees, so there's two good reasons not to plant corn now. Number one, the optimum yields are always like the last 3 days in April and the first week in May, so we're not there yet, right?
Right, all right.
Okay.
So what are you doing right now? What can you do to still progress things forward?
Well, the soil and stuff is ready. They can be putting on fertilizer and things of that sort, but the optimum time to plant is not now. It's a little bit later for both beans and corn.
All right, sounds good. We'll hold off a little bit longer on that. Thanks for joining us again, Keith. We'll be back after this break with the second half action from your 2015 Green and Gold game.
Back at the FARGODOME, second half action of the annual Green and Gold game. North Dakota State wrapping up spring practices. The opener just over 4 months away at Montana. Brian, Sean, and Lee Timmerman with you, and we have a stoppage, and that is, I believe, the first flag we've had today, LT.
Yep. Procedure on the outside.
Procedure against the goal squad. Tossing 5 yards. It'll be first and 15.
So that'll back up the gold or the offense 5 yards. Seeing some new players in the game at this point for both the offense and defense, and one of those guys that is hoping to make a splash is Brett Bremer as well, number 95, a sophomore from Minneapolis Hopkins. Chase Morlock getting wrestled to the ground after a gain of 2, and I think that was one of the defensive tackles in there, maybe number 63, Aaron Steidel, another redshirt freshman they're hoping to get some production out of this next fall.
Yeah, Steidel's a kid they really like, and Steidel's a kid that, I mean, truth be told, they need some production from the second level on second level guys from both the inside and the outside. Once you take Morgan and Ambrosius off the defensive end, boy, the Bison get real young, real fast on the defensive end position too.
They're hoping that Jared Tuska can take a step. Had an Achilles injury all of last year as Morlock runs around the end, shakes off a tackle, and Chase Morlock takes off down the sideline, bumped out of bounds by Jalen Wimbush inside the 40-yard line. So nice run there for the Moorhead product as he stepped out of a tackle.
But there's one thing we know about Chase Morlock is that he is a physical style of runner. You'll see him turn the corner and then get his shoulder into that defender right there at about the 45. Then he's got about 20, 25 yards after that. He's not a step out of bounds type of guy.
Morlock again playing as a true freshman a couple of years ago, mainly on special teams. Just 51 carries last year for Chase. And off to King Frazier. Boy, right there is Matt Plank to wrap him up, and Bo Leak has finished him off. Nice job by the two backers trying to make a splash here, as we talked about them a little bit in the first half, LT. And Plank is a guy that Chris Kleiman very high on as a Mike linebacker.
I'd like to see him close, though. That anybody who plays defense certainly knows about the ability. When you got a chance to take a shot at someone, you take it. And Plank is one of those types of players that will not pass up any opportunity to do that.
Easton stick, fires, boy, nice toss, in stride. Caught by Isaac Lashua. And we are joined by a young man that is used to breaking up those plays in the middle to the tight ends. That is Christian Dudzik, four-year starter for the Bison, taking a few minutes to spend some time with us. And welcome, Christian. What's it like to spend spring ball on this end?
Well, it's a little different, obviously. Sorry about that. It's a little different. Being on the sideline for 4 years and competing out there, it's a little different to be a spectator and a former player. It's not my team anymore.
Hard to say, isn't it?
It is. I'm really excited to see what these guys do this year, and I want to see them be successful.
I know Chris Board is a guy that's trying to step up his game, and he said the cerebral part of the game and mentally trying to come up to everything. He's watching a lot of cut-ups of both you and Colton Hegel. And what are the biggest steps he's going to have to take to be ready in 4 months when the US season opener comes at Montana?
Well, it's just gonna, he's gonna have to put his nose in the playbook and watch a lot of film like he's doing. And it's not said a lot, but learning this playbook is really tough. Coming in. Some guys are just gifted and understand the defense a little better.
And some guys are gifted just running the ball right up the middle and scoring touchdowns.
There's Dunn again.
Run. And, a guy like Lance Dunn, I played against him all year because he was on scout team. He was a running back. And I'm excited to see what this guy does because I could tell he was gifted all year.
And that's Dunn's second touchdown run. And again, a redshirt freshman, but has shown a little bit of breakaway speed here in the spring and can be a home run hitter. Ben LeCompte on again for the extra point. And he boots it through, and we'll take a quick timeout and be back with more of the green and gold game, and Christian Dudzik, the former Bison safety, with us in the booth. Back at the FARGODOME, the annual green and gold game here taking place between the offense and the defense. And with all the bodies that are short, Christian, you guys have had to makeshift some spring games in the past. And certainly it's not easy when you have a bunch of guys injured and guys that are coming off a real rigorous, 4-month, 5-month schedule.
Absolutely. It's an NFL schedule, and it has been for us the past 4 years. And it's definitely tough. And, a part of that, other than physical, is the mental toll that it takes. And so these guys, coming off that year, maybe take two weeks off and get right back into it and winter workouts. And you're going to have some injuries, but you'll have to get over it by the season.
Well, Christian, you were talking a little bit about the mental aspects of trying to learn this defense. I mean, you came in and never missed a start. So what is the difference between coming in as a freshman and trying to learn it and then understanding it like you did your last couple of years?
Well, if you have been in the system for 4 years, it just starts to click, and I remember being a freshman and thinking, getting the play call and it coming in and thinking, well, what's my alignment, what's my technique, what could the check be on this play, and all those things are going through your head as a young guy, and as you get older, those things just start clicking, and it's a much slower game to you.
These young receivers, guys like Kayvon Hawkins, who just made the catch behind us. You saw him a little bit in scout, certainly throughout last year. Wide receiver, I know you're on the defensive side, but what offensive players maybe caught your eye? You talked about Lance Dunn already.
Well, definitely Lance Dunn. He's a guy with a lot of talent, I noticed. Kayvon, another guy, he's just a real athletic player, and I can definitely see those guys having some success in the future.
Tampa 2 defense. A loaded question is what makes it work, but what are a couple of the principles on why it's worked so well and why it continues to be the base defense for NDSU?
Well, the biggest thing is you got to have players that put forth the effort. I mean, running in pursuit is the biggest part of our defense, and guys are going to miss tackles, guys are going to miss fits, but if you have 10 other guys running to the ball, then it's going to be a 5-yard gain rather than 15 or a touchdown.
And I know, Christian, for you, you're hoping to continue your career here. You've been working out throughout the offseason. What's your plans here? What do you got going on the next few months?
Well, the draft's coming up here quickly, and talking to my agent, I think I'll probably be priority free agent, and so waiting on some calls and see what teams think about me.
How hard has that been? Have you had a chance to visit with any teams?
I personally haven't. My agent has talked to a few, and a few have said I'm on their radar. They like my game, so it was a little taxing training for that. I got a little, nerves were going for pro day, but I was glad to get it over and perform, and just been doing everything that I could.
Yeah, just having the opportunity. You want the chance, right? You're asking for nothing more than someone to give you that chance, right?
Absolutely. I would just love to have an opportunity. I was a guy that came in here partial scholarship offer, and a lot of people never would have thought I got to this point. So, no pressure on my end.
And really, Christian, you were part of that first class where Nebraska started to become a priority state for North Dakota State in the recruiting process. That's continued with a lot of other guys out of Omaha. How is it that North Dakota State can go into a place like Omaha and get players like yourself and others that are successful?
Well, I think the biggest thing about Nebraska is, so many guys that grew up there, they were Nebraska fans, and so they understood what, success in football looked like. And so with that, you got a lot of guys that have pride in what they do, and they want to win, and they want to be successful, and so they bring that here to North Dakota State, and it's grown even more through the strength and conditioning program, and guys learn how to compete.
All right, Christian, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate you taking a couple moments to join us. Hey, best of luck to you.
Good luck in the
future. We'll keep an eye on you.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be back here and watch these guys compete.
And we do have a punt coming up before we go to break. So weird to see the coaches run on the field with the punt team. A.T.
Like
Boston and Tyler Rowland in the huddle.
It's like a bigger version of arena ball. Have you ever seen that, where the coaches are out on the field in some of these arena leagues? That's a little different.
And the punt is up by Ian Gallagher, another youngster.
At about
getting some reps at the 10-yard line. Good job. We'll take a quick break. Again, thanks again, Christian. Best of luck. We'll see you down the road.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, back with more of the green and gold game after this timeout. Back at the FARGODOME for the annual green and gold game, now joined by the Buck Buchanan Award winner for North Dakota State, a 4-year starter from Schuyler, Nebraska, Mr. Kyle Emanuel, kind enough to spend a couple minutes with us. And Kyle, I know it's been a whirlwind for you since the end of the season. all the way from playing in all-star games to trying to train for the combine to going through the combine and now waiting until Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night to hear your name called.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun, but it's been a whirlwind, like you said, and I've been all over the country and traveled more in my life these past couple months than I have for my whole life. So it's been fun, and it's been challenging at times, but I've enjoyed it.
You were just in Pittsburgh, I think, if I heard your itinerary right.
Correct.
What are some of the things that these guys are wanting to know when they fly you in to get face-to-face with the coaches?
Yeah, you know, at this point, a lot of it's done. You know, it's they just kind of wanted to meet me, kind of get you know, kind of a sense of who I am as a person, I guess. You know, you watch film. Watch our film, watch their film, see if I can pick up on their defense. Got to meet the head coach and GM, and I think it's almost like a job interview in a way, a little less stressful. I think it was kind of laid back. It was got to see the facilities, but I know it was a good experience to get out there and see everyone.
I know, Kyle, with you being gone, I know Mike Hardy's working in town now. Some youngsters got to step up that you've had a chance to see a little bit, whether some of them are redshirting or some of them that actually played as freshmen. What's going to be the biggest key for them here over the next 4 months for the season opener at Montana?
Yeah, I mean, I think defensively, just getting those young guys these game reps into this spring game. It's not a game, but it's a game-like atmosphere, and I think that's good for them. You know, there's going to be a lot of question marks, but there's been that in the past, and you know, people are always going to speculate because they have to. And I think these guys will be just fine. I know they're replacing a lot of starters defensively, but it's just a matter of time before they pick it up, you know, whether that's game 1 or game 3, but I know eventually they'll be fine.
Well, I know you were very comfortable putting your hand down and being that rush defensive end and getting those tackles for the loss and setting those records. Your hand comes up now, doesn't it? And what's some of that transition to linebacker like, or going to be like, do you think?
Yeah, it's going to be different. You know, it's just coming from the reads. The reads will be.
We're just spinning around. Keep going.
Okay. You know, my whole career, my read was with my hand down, looking down the line. Now I could be, you know, playing inside linebacker, outside linebacker. So it's going to be different. You know, now I have to worry about coverages, something I never had to do before. So I've already kind of started that process, and once I get to an NFL team, it'll just continue.
So what's your schedule now like this week? What's your plans for this week? Where are you going to be spending the draft, and then what are you going to be doing?
Yeah, so I'll be here until I think I'm going to head back home Tuesday morning, and I'm going to go back to Schuyler, Nebraska, good old hometown, be around family and friends, and I'll be there for the draft, and hopefully my name gets called.
So do they have up the billboard outside of town that says home of 4-time national champion Kyle Emanuel yet?
They don't. I get made fun of for that a lot, and especially here with a lot of my buddies, you know. But they do not yet.
But we were talking a little bit with Christian about how many Nebraska players have come up to play at NDSU, and there's different kind of versions even of Nebraska players when you talk about maybe the Omaha kids here compared to the type of atmosphere in the high school that you played at, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean, definitely. Where I played it, there was, you know, we're lucky if we get 1,000 fans. So you come up here, and the electric atmosphere of the Dome, that's one of the reasons, you know, for me personally, why I wanted to come to NDSU.
Has it been weird to be back at all? To see this and watch it?
It is a little weird, and I think you know, this is just kind of a scrimmage, which I did came to one during spring. But I think when I actually get back to a game, you know, who knows when that'll be? Hopefully I'm not at a game because I'm on an NFL team.
That's right.
But, whenever that is, I think that'll be weird, and that's the part you really miss as a player.
We talked a little bit about a guy who I think, and you'll probably back me up on this, is an unsung behind-the-scenes guy in this program, and it's Coach Kramer.
Yep.
Is Coach Kramer one of the primary reasons that you're looking to make a career in the NFL? And if so, talk a little bit about him and how he impacts the program so much.
Well, I mean, as far as me personally attacking the NFL, I just know, you know, what I've gone through with Coach Kramer. I know workout-wise, you know, I don't know if it can get much harder. But you know, Coach Kramer is a guy, and as a coach, he cares just as much, if not more than any coordinator, any head coach that I've ever been around. He just cares so much about the program. He really is the foundation. You hear that a lot, and you know, he gets some credit, but he doesn't get nearly enough that he deserves. You know, kids come in here underweight. You know, don't know where they're going to fit in as a position. They get in there with him, and they're fine. They're flying around and making plays, and that's all credit to him.
One thing Chris Kleiman told me this week, he said, you know, the biggest difference between us and a lot of other programs is that our guys, oh boy, wide open. Should eat Crockett almost dropped it, and
He got in.
I think he got in. He was so open, he almost dropped it.
My defense isn't doing so well today.
But real quickly, Chris Kleiman said 95% of the guys on our team accept their role, and that's a big reason why we have success. How is it that the culture breeds that? How does it get to that point?
Yeah, it's something you have to buy into, and it's not easy right away. You know, a lot of these guys come in and they're the stud of their high school, and you know they have to accept a lesser role or whatever it may be, and it's not easy. And I had to go through that as well. You know, switching from linebacker to defensive end in a new position, but it's just something you buy into eventually. You realize that you have to sacrifice for the greater good. You know, maybe you're not going to be the star anymore, but do your part. You know, whatever your part is. You know, then there's a million. And when I was talking to the team, you know, for my senior address, I kind of told them that, you know, find your role, whatever that may be. Find it and do it to the best of your ability.
Kyle, thanks a ton for the time. We wish you the best of luck. We'll be keeping an eye out for your name on the draft tracker here over the next few days this weekend. And, hey, best of luck in the future, okay?
Thank you.
All right, Kyle Emanuel, kind enough to join us here on the telecast of the spring game. Keep an eye out for his name this weekend in the NFL Draft. Back in a moment. Gold leading 51-9 here as we in the nearing here of the 2015 annual green and gold game.
I certainly wish Kyle Emanuel the best in his efforts to make it in the NFL. I know we had a lot of fun. One of our inside jokes last year, if you were with us during the telecast, about how Kyle couldn't be the player of the game, yet he was the national player of the week because he had that type of year. He was outstanding last year.
Well, and Chris Kleiman told me too. He said, you know, I made a fundamental change as head coach when I took over, that we were going to play Kyle Emanuel 60 snaps. He was only averaging about 30 snaps a game through his first 3 years. And I said, we're just not taking him off the field regardless. And that's a big reason why his production was so much higher, 19.5 sacks to lead the country.
Peter Olson, number 50, you saw him there, a redshirt freshman from Maple Grove, Minnesota, making that last play. Stop on defense.
And there's Darius Anderson. Well, some of these backups showing good pursuit to the football, LT.
Well, that's one of the term that colleges use a lot, and well, anyone in football, it's called run fits. You need to be in the right spot at the right time in order to prevent a cutback. As you could see there, Anderson made a nice little move to the outside, tried to maybe filter his way back in. He couldn't because Scott and a few other guys were right in there. So that's part of that pursuit angle. There's redshirt freshman. He comes from North Carolina, Browns Summit, North Carolina, made that last tackle.
Interesting story. Did not sign on signing day. Actually signed a couple weeks after
later,
the signing
which is
day.
unusual. Yeah.
And again, I.E.T. Fossen, one of the new staff members at that time, was able to find him and bring him in to add some depth. And Darius Anderson scooting around the end there, working off a block from Crockett. Beth Hool down to the sidelines. Has another interview for us. Beth.
Number 56, Caleb Butler on the stop.
Been far from a freshman, just out here with the green and gold game, got some early first half reps. How are you guys coming along as a wide receiving core?
I think it's been pretty good. You know, I think we've improved. You know, we got a lot of young guys, so you know, it was a learning process for the first few days, but we've kind of improved each day.
You getting out there? I think they want RJ. Well, how about that? I'm going to get guys in trouble. RJ Urzendowski expecting to have another big year for NDSU football. Obviously keeping him plenty busy, guys.
I think maybe we can give Carol Gillette a little assistant coach today, because I think Carol was the one that said, they want you. Get in there.
RJ Urzendowski. Well, we at least got a little bit from him as he's in on this special team snap.
The thing about RJ that the coaches told me this week is that he has gotten faster.
Which is scary.
Yes, which is good.
Urzendowski can certainly play in the slot on the outside as well. We'll take a quick timeout and be back with the remainder of the annual green and gold game. It's 51-12. We'll back in a moment. Well, it was nice of LT to borrow his shirt out to that fan right there and his pants. Those gold pants, where'd you get those, LT?
From you. Stole them out of your closet.
It takes all kinds.
If you're going to throw me into the bus, I'm going to drag you under there with me.
The final drive of this annual green and gold game, and pass is caught on a nice throw there by Easton Stick on the move, and Stick has been pretty good here this afternoon. Now 7 of 9.
I think Stick has looked very, very sharp actually. That pass that he had, the long one downfield for the touchdown, that was a nice pass. Here he hits the other guy right in stride. So, you know, they're still calling it a quarterback battle, and it will go into the fall between Stick and Davis. But the guy that I think most fans feel that they would want, if they got to pick to be the number 2 guy, would be number 12.
And offensive coordinator Tim Polasek said he feels much more comfortable with their backup situation this year than they did last year.
They didn't have a backup last year. I mean,
Dunn gets the call.
None of the kids last year really put themselves in a position to be a number 2. And I think one of the huge benefits to the Bison last year is that they did not have to make that decision, meaning Wentz played all year. I don't know what would have happened. There might have been a chance that Stick might have had his red shirt pulled. Who knows? But that's a decision that, believe me, everyone associated with NDSU and the football team are glad they didn't have to make that call.
Absolutely. And Tim Polasek saying that, maybe the one problem that Stick has had is he's tried to do a little too much in some of the practices, especially here in the spring, where he's tried to do more what Carson Wentz does and less what Easton Stick can do.
Stick has gotten a lot better after the first couple of practices because he came out trying to set the world on fire and did just the opposite. Threw about 4 or 5 interceptions in the first practice and then kind of has settled in once, Randy Hedberg and Wentz is kind of another, he's kind of a coach too.
You saw number 84 there, Shadid Crockett. That is the brother of John Crockett, who started his career at Montana State and has had some hip surgeries and is still trying to work back from that. But he said right now it's all about just gaining strength. He goes, structurally, everything is good. Talking to him earlier this week. Very different from John, not nearly as loud, much more quiet. Stick is under pressure and slips out of a tackle, and now he's going to take off. And this is something Easton Stick can do. He can run. As he's pushed into the out-of-bounds marker there by Adam Bachmeier.
Yeah, ways that Sticks has been described in terms of his ability is he's an explosive type of a runner. He has a different gear in terms of being able to put the ball down and run. You saw him just step through that first. It looked like a sack, and then he's able to get a first down off of it.
And Eric Bachmeier again trying to work his way in as well. Another redshirt freshman from just down the road here in Kindred. An excellent athlete there for the Vikings.
But it is so difficult to come in and try to learn everything that you have to in the position that Bachmeier is in. So that's what makes what Christian Dudzik, one of our guests here earlier this afternoon, what he did to start every game of his whole college career, a little special.
We haven't talked about the offensive line a ton in terms of some of the new pieces here, but two new North Dakota kids that are hoping to make an impact, Tanner Volson and Luke Bacon. Redshirt year, they've gotten noticeably larger physically. That is one thing you can definitely tell when you see them on here. And Connor Riley said, hey, these guys may have a chance to work in the rotation at some point next season.
Well, Volson right now, if you had to pick a backup at the center position, it would be Tanner. Played his high school ball at Drake Animus and, has come in and he is so much bigger.
It's unbelievable.
Than what he was last year in his redshirt season.
Play action for Stick. Boy, good footwork again, and that's what Easton Stick can do. Wow. Look at the wheels on number 12. Whew.
Well, about a minute and a half ago, we were talking about his ability to do that, and then he goes out and shows everyone.
Easton Stick made it look easy. 31-yard touchdown run. Boy, is this kid elusive. And
remember, too, Stick was the quarterback throwing to Erzendowski when those kids were in high school, and now they're both back here. How many touchdowns do you think they had their senior year?
Well, Stick did have a scholarship offer from Rutgers, from who's now in the Big Ten. So when you think about that, they certainly saw how good he could be. And that will be the final play of this green and gold scrimmage, and the gold running away with it. 60-12, and now 61-12 is the final.
That's it.
And we'll wrap it up and be back with the post-game report after this on NBC North Dakota Sports. Pretty dominating performance by the offense today. The quarterbacks in particular very strong. 15 of 19 as a group collectively. And Carson Wentz 3 of 4 on his only drive of the day. He is standing by with Beth Rule.
Hey guys, that's right. Carson Wentz joining me, the pride of Bismarck. How about it? Just wrapping up your spring game here. What do you see from your offense this whole spring that gives you so much confidence moving forward into fall camp?
I saw a lot of playmakers. You saw it today. Easton Stick coming out here making a couple plays.
Lance Dunn was doing it all spring ball. You know, Kayvon Hawkins made a good play. You know, Darius Shepard stepping up, Tyler Rice. You know, just a bunch of guys that love playing football and that are stepping up, making plays, and it's exciting going into the summer and going forward.
We weren't 100% sure what we were going to see out here today. A lot of injuries, especially to your offensive linemen. But what can you say about them and how much confidence you have in them to get healthy, be ready to go for you come that regular season when you guys start against Montana?
Yeah, absolutely. The Rams, I mean, I love those guys. I know a lot of them are banged up here, and, you know, that almost helped us, though. You know, a lot of these young guys got a ton of reps this spring ball, you know, and got to compete against Brian Schatz in there, Nate Tangway, you know, those guys, just to get better. And, you know, they got a lot better, and, you know, they still got work to do, but, you know, and then with the other guys coming back from injuries, I know they'll be ready to go, and I'm excited to work with those guys.
You know more than anyone the importance of developing in those stages so you can come in and lead your team to a national championship in your first year as a starting quarterback. What's the progress for you now? I know you said you're trying to implement yourself more into the play calling a little bit more out there. How's that going, and how do you go about doing that now in this offseason?
Yeah, you know, the biggest thing for me is, like you said, kind of being a stronger influence in making the play calls, you know, checking things at the line of scrimmage. Biggest thing for me is, you know, watching tape and just being on the same page with those guys, like the receivers and everything, getting signals checked out there. You know, we just got communication is going to be huge for us this year, you know. It's one thing to be on the same page when you leave the huddle, but to be able to communicate when there's a lot of noise around you and distractions type of thing. So communication will be huge for me, and, you know, I just got to keep elevating my play to make everyone else around me better.
Well, the Bison fans certainly know that you're an intelligent quarterback and you're capable. Did you have fun out there today, though?
I did. I unfortunately only had about 7 plays or whatever, but it was fun out there, and I had a lot of fun watching these young guys wrap up their first spring ball.
Well, it was your last spring ball. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll see you at fall camp. From the sideline, guys, that's Carson Wentz.
Beth, thanks so much. And LT, we know, I think, what we got in Carson Wentz. Pat Hill, the former Fresno State head coach, actually did one of the playoff games for the telecast here. He came and visited the Bison during spring ball, spoke to the team. He told the coaches, boy, I hope you realize what you have here in Carson Wentz. And Tim Polasek stood up right away and says, I sure as heck know what we have here.
And Coach Hedberg understands that as well. I spoke with both of those guys earlier this week, and they both said that as coaches, as hard as this may be, one of the things that we, meaning the coaches, have to do is maybe back off of Wentz, don't overcoach him, and let Carson do what he does, because he is going to get us on the field in better positions maybe than where we can be as a coaching staff. So there's going to be a lot of post-huddle reads that Wentz will do, and his teammates will follow him. He is exceptional. He's very good.
We saw Lance Dunn make a couple of nice runs today. We saw some of the young wide receivers make some plays as well in the passing game. Overall, it's still just a very small piece of the body of work we're going to have to see throughout fall camp and into the next season, but it was a good start.
It was, and it's a little bit of a snapshot in terms of where I think the green and the gold today are. The offense a lot further along than where the defense is.
We'll take a quick break and be back with more from the annual Green and Gold game here at the FARGODOME. Welcome back to the FARGODOME. Brian Shaw and Lee Timmerman wrapping things up here from the NDSU 2015 Green and Gold game. LT, we talked about the offense. Defensively, you said they still got a little ways to catch up, but the good news is they have some time to do that, and they certainly have some talented players, as we've seen. Guys like MJ Stump that have really come into their own.
Yeah, I don't think there's, you know, depth is always the big thing. Who's going to be playing behind the guys? We know Stump's going to start. We know that DeLuca's going to take over, and the defensive end starting unit is good. I think the most wide open position is that safety position, both on the strong side and the free side. I think that's one of the major question marks. Sometimes, you know, you'll ask a coach, did you create more questions in the spring than answered? And I don't know how they would answer that one, but I think there's still quite a few things to be determined in that safety position, and of course depth. Depth is the big thing.
And I know Chris Kleiman likes a couple of the incoming recruits he has at safety as well that may factor in. You never know how many of those guys are going to play, but they're at least going to come in and compete.
I think Coach Entz put it in a real interesting way. He said that, especially on the defensive side, and a lot of it's true on the offensive side, but when you're talking about playing true freshmen, the further away they are from the ball, the higher the probability that they can come in and play right away. That's kind of code for safety position.
We'll find out what happens. We take a look at the 2015 schedule. North Dakota State, as we mentioned, gets the game at Montana to start things on the 29th
of August, and then Weber State, North Dakota at home, and then you get into conference play. But overall, that's a pretty doggone good schedule.
I think the Bison should really like their schedule. Of course, anytime you're playing Montana and out there, that atmosphere is fantastic, in front of, 26,000 people. That's a great way if you're not going to get, a game at K-State or a game at Iowa State. Can you start better and make it a decent road trip than that? So they'll start off right off the bat, and of course Weber State, that's a home and home, and then the one that everyone who's watching in our coverage area is looking forward to, of course, is that UND game. They're finally playing that thing again. But yeah, the conference will be very good. Don't forget who the Bison beat in the national championship. I think Roberson and friends will have a lot to say on what happens in the Missouri Valley Conference.
No question. Don't forget, after the bye week, NDSU opens the conference schedule at South Dakota State, a team that has lost to them 6 straight times. So certainly the Jacks have something to prove as well. Should be a lot of fun. We'll have it for you. We'll be back in just about 4 months from now for our first Farmers Union Insurance Bison football pregame show for Alex Egan, Beth Hool, our entire NBC North Dakota production crew, and of course Lee Timmerman. I'm Brian Shawn saying so long from the annual Green and Gold game. We'll be back in the fall. See you everybody.